Good morning, children.
Morning, ma'am.
We were learning about the structure of DNA molecule, and we also discussed the history of DNA. And we are going to learn more about the structure of DNA. And who named it? Who named this acidic substance in the nucleus as nuclein? Michael? Who gave the name nuclein? Everything went under periodic test? Meenakshi? Frederick Miescher. Okay. And you know, the DNA consists of two polynucleotide strands and they are twined around to form a double helical model. And who proposed the double helical model, Steffi? Steffi got up just now?
Just a while ago.
I understood. Okay, tell me, who proposed the double helical model?
Ma'am, can you give the options? I forgot.
One starting with W. Second name I'm saying. Second one starting with C. The double helical model was proposed by two scientists.
Ma'am, if I get the options, I say I forgot.
I will give so many options. Choose the correct. Now you are worried only about MCQ questions. Your final exam is not MCQ. You will have all the descriptive answers also. Gayatri?
James Watson and Francis.
Watson and Crick. These were the two scientists who proposed a double helical model. So let's learn more about the structure of DNA. And I think you are having your first term exam in November. So you have enough time. I think we will also start some revision. What do you say, children? First term portions alone. Huh? We'll break it into small parts and shall we have at least weekly ones? Otherwise, you will not touch your book, even though we teachers used to say on a daily basis you learn, but I don't think. Or else the chapter which I'm dealing with, every weekend shall I take the portions covered in that week? Tell me, I need your suggestion.
Yes, ma'am.
That is better, I think. The other chapters at least once we have revised. So every Friday, a 10 minutes test you will have based on what I have covered that week. Agreed? Yes or no? Not this week. This week you will be able to manage? I think only this week your periodic test will be over. When is the last date? Friday. Okay, let's start it next Friday onwards. So whatever I cover that week, you will have a test. Otherwise, you will not learn. It's a very lengthy chapter. Let's go with the revision also, so that you will not have any difficulty towards the end. Okay. Distance between two consecutive base pairs is 0.34 nanometer. And what about the pitch? Pitch measurement, what did I say? Pitch of DNA helix? 3.4. I have to ask the question and myself have to answer, no? What is the pitch? What measurement I've given? Tell me, children. Vidar, measurement of pitch?
3.4 nanometer.
3.4 nanometer, whereas the distance between two consecutive base pairs is 0.34 nanometer. And how to calculate the length of the DNA double helix? Already this we had discussed last class. Total number of base pairs into distance between two consecutive base pairs. The distance between two consecutive base pairs we already know. And if you know any one of the other two values, the other one you can find out. For example, if you know the total number of base pairs present with the distance between the base pairs, that is already known. Plus one more value, you can find out the length. If length is given, we can find out the total number of base pairs because we already know the distance between two consecutive base pairs. You should know this formula. The length of DNA double helix is equal to total number of base pairs into distance between two consecutive base pairs. And if you take a mammalian cell, the number of base pairs. The length of the DNA will be different for different cells. So if you take the case of a mammalian cell and that too in the diploid condition, it is 6.6 into 10 raised to 9. If it is in the haploid condition, it will be 3.3 into 10 raised to 9. You know the difference between diploid and haploid condition. In haploid, the chromosomes are unpaired. In diploid condition, chromosomes will be paired. So diploid cells will be having double the DNA present in haploid cells. The length of the DNA, we know the number of base pairs. 6.6 into 10 raised to 9 is the number of base pairs. And this value is known, the distance between two base pairs, that is also known. So from that, you can find out the length of the DNA. Clear? This is the number of base pairs and this is the distance between. The nanometer is just converted into similar value. That's why it is mentioned as 0.34 into 10 raised to minus 9 per base pairs. So once you calculate it, you will get the length of mammalian DNA or the DNA in a typical mammalian cell is 2.2 meters. In E. coli, Escherichia coli, the bacterium, the length of the DNA is 1.36 millimeters or 1.36 into 10 raised to minus 3 meter. And from that, you can find out the number of base pairs. I told you, either you should have the length of the DNA, then you can find out number of base pairs. If number of base pairs is given, you can calculate the length because the third value is known, it's common. 0.34 nanometer. The distance between two consecutive base pairs is known value. So if you know any of these, either the length, then you can, or the number of base pairs. If you know the length, you can calculate the number of base pairs. And if you know the number of base pairs, you can calculate the length of the DNA. In the first case, we know the number of base pairs. So we calculated the length of the DNA. In the second case, length of DNA is given and we calculated the number of base pairs. And the distance between two consecutive base pairs, that is a non-value, and using that we calculate. Don't forget the formula for calculating the length of DNA. Length of DNA double helix is equal to total number of base pairs into distance between two consecutive base pairs. Length of DNA is more than the dimension of a typical nucleus. So when you compare the dimensions of a typical nucleus, it's more than that. Understood? So the length is more. Now you might be thinking how it will fit in the nucleus, which is much smaller. So now we are going to see how the packaging is done, how they are arranged, how they are fitting inside the nucleus. The length of the DNA is much more when you compare with the dimensions of the cell. Then you might have a doubt how this such a long DNA is fitting inside this particular cell. So that we are going to see next. Any doubts? The formula you should know, children. I'll repeat the points once again. Distance between two consecutive base pairs is 0.34 nanometer. And we can calculate the length of DNA double helix using the formula total number of base pairs into the distance between two consecutive base pairs. Either you should know the length or the number of base pairs. If you know the number of base pairs, you can calculate the length of DNA from it. If you know the length of DNA, you can calculate the number of base pairs from it. And here they have given two examples. In a typical mammalian cell, the number of base pairs is 6.6 into 10 raised to 9 base pairs. And this is a non-value. So using that, you can multiply and you will get the answer as 2.2 meter. In the second example of Escherichia coli, the length of DNA is given. So we calculate the number of base pairs using the same formula and you get it as 4 into 10 raised to 6 base pairs. And then the next point that we discussed is the length of the DNA is much more than the dimensions of a nucleus present in the cell. And now we need to know how this lengthy DNA, how this long DNA is packaged within the nucleus. So let's see that. First, we will see a prokaryotic cell. Children, what is special about the nuclear material in a prokaryotic cell? What do you mean by prokaryotes? Sania, what do you mean by a prokaryotic cell? What is special about those cells? How are they different from eukaryotic cell? Nuclear membrane will be
Present.
which one?
Prokaryote.
Once again,
Nuclear membrane will be present.
I need to hear the next part. Eukaryotes or prokaryotes?
Prokaryotes.
Are you a prokaryote or an eukaryote? Primitive, new. Human beings, higher plants and animals are prokaryotes or eukaryotes? Sania, you are in class 12, dear. Nandana?
In prokaryotes, nuclear membrane will be absent.
Will be absent. That is why you call them as prokaryotic cells. Here, the nuclear membrane is absent. They don't have any well-defined nuclear membrane. So, no separation between the cytoplasm and the nuclear material. What do you call that nuclear material in prokaryotic cells? There is a special name. Meenakshi, what do you call it? Children, who can say? Maha. Only then I am proceeding. I thought you all might know. Then simply I asked just to make you speak. Nobody knows the name?
Nuclear.
Nucleoid. Meenakshi. It's known as, repeat what it is, Meenakshi. Nucleoid. That means only some nuclear material is present, no well-defined nuclear membrane. So you can't call it as a nucleus, you call it as a nucleoid. Whereas on the other hand, in eukaryotic cells, they have a well-defined nuclear membrane which separates nucleus from the cytoplasm. And in those cells, there are membrane-bound organelles also which are absent in prokaryotic cells. So we were discussing about how the genetic material is packed in a eukaryotic cell. The example given is E. coli. The DNA is not scattered throughout the cell. DNA, it's a negatively charged substance and proteins are positively charged. You have learned in class 9, I think, chromosomes are made up of DNA and proteins. Chromosomes are made up of DNA and proteins, and DNA is negatively charged, proteins are positively charged, and together they form nucleoid in the case of prokaryotes. Negatively charged DNA along with positively charged proteins form nucleoid. The DNA within the nucleoid is organized into large loops. You can see the figure, some loop-like structures you can see, and these loops are held in position by means of proteins. And they are not scattered. They are limited to a particular area. They are not scattered throughout the cell. And this negatively charged DNA is held in position by means of positively charged proteins. And they are arranged, you can see them in the form of loops, loop-like structure, and these loops are held in position with the help of proteins. And apart from that, in the figure, you can see certain structures known as plasmids. About plasmids, you will learn more in biotechnology chapter. So in these prokaryotes like bacteria, they have some extra chromosomal DNA. Apart from the main genetic material, they have some small circular extra chromosomal DNA that is known as plasmid. And plasmid has got several applications, several uses are there, which we'll be discussing later. So now what you need to know is that how DNA is arranged within a prokaryotic cell. Here the DNA is not scattered throughout the cell. They are held in position with the help of proteins. DNA is negatively charged and the proteins which keep them in position are positively charged. And apart from the chromosomal DNA, they have some extra chromosomal circular DNA which you call as plasmids, and you can learn about it later. The DNA in a nucleoid will be organized into loops which are held in position by means of proteins. Now let's see how DNA is packed in a eukaryotic cell. In eukaryotes also, positively charged proteins are there, as we said in the case of prokaryotic cell. Here also, positively charged proteins are present, and here we call them as histones. Histones are positively charged because they are rich in positively charged basic amino acid residues, lysine and arginine. And you know, proteins are made up of amino acids. A chain of amino acids will form a protein, and histones are positively charged because they are rich in positively charged amino acids like lysine and arginine. Histones, they are organized to form a unit of 8 molecules which you call as histone octamer. And in the second figure, you cannot make out, you will see just as what is marked or what is shaded in green color, that is histone octamer. But we cannot find there any 8 molecules. You can't distinguish them, but actually, wait a minute. Yes, so actually here it's not marked, but they consist of 8 molecules, and you call it as histone octamer. So here it is clear. See, in a magnified view, that is clear over there, and what you see, this strand is DNA strand, and see how the DNA strand is kept in position by those 8 molecules. So that 8 molecules together, we call it as histone octamer. Once again, in eukaryotes, to facilitate the DNA to remain in position, there are positively charged proteins. You call these proteins as histones. And why they are positively charged? Because they are rich in positively charged amino acid residues like lysine and arginine. And histones, they are organized to form a unit of 8 molecules. You can see they are forming separate units. And each unit will contain 8 molecules. That is why you call it as octamer. Histone octamer, 8 molecules together will form histone octamer. And what you see in pink color, children, in the second figure, that is DNA. DNA molecules is twined around this particular structure. And because of the positively charged proteins, the negatively charged DNA will remain in position. Negatively charged DNA is wrapped around positively charged. It looks like a flag color, no children, all the 3 colors. Okay, positively charged histone octamer to form nucleosome. Once again, the negatively charged DNA is wrapped around positively charged histone. As you can see here, this one is positively charged and this is negatively charged. So histone or these proteins are positively charged, and it is the negatively charged DNA is coiled around or wrapped around positively charged histone octamer, and this unit we call it as nucleosome. This is one nucleosome. Several such nucleosomes will be present. See in the first figure, one nucleosome, second one, third one, fourth one, and so many are there. You can see they are stacked. Several such nucleosomes are stacked together. Negatively charged DNA is wrapped around positively charged histone octamer and it forms nucleosome. A typical nucleosome, if you take a nucleosome, a typical nucleosome, there will be 200 base pairs. So from here to, see from here to here, 200 base pairs will be present. So 200 base pairs are present in a single nucleosome. If you take the nucleosome of a DNA helix, within each nucleosome, the number of base pairs present is 200. The total number of nucleosomes. How to calculate, children? How to calculate? If you need to find out how many nucleosomes are present, can we calculate? I'll repeat again. Each nucleosome is having 200 base pairs. Each nucleosome, 200 base pairs. And what is to be done if you need to find out how many nucleosomes are there? We know the number of base pairs present. Don't we? We know. Yes, we know the total. What is the total number of base pairs? Gayatri, what is the total number of base pairs present in a typical mammalian cell? Hello, Gayatri. Where have you gone, children? Yes. You're waiting for me to stop sharing. No, only then you will turn your videos on. I have told you earlier also, I have an option to scroll down and see whether your videos are displayed or not. Don't take chances. Okay. Gayatri, just now we finished explaining that. What is the total number of base pairs in a typical mammalian cell?
200.
Only 200 base pairs, then it will be very short, no? Then our DNA will be very short. I told in a haploid condition and diploid condition the number of base pairs present.
6.6 into 10.
So where did you go in between? Traveling without a ticket? 6.6 into 10 raised to? 10 raised to?
9.
How to calculate? So that is the total number of base pairs. And you know the number of base pairs within one nucleosome. Then can't we calculate the total number of base pairs? How? Say, Punya is saying something. Say it loudly.
Divide.
Yes. And Gayatri, how many base pairs? Unmute.
6.6 into 0.
Don't make mistake. The total number of nucleosomes in a mammalian cell is 6.6 into 10 raised to 9 base pairs by 200. So it will be 3.3 into 10 raised to 7. You can calculate and verify whether it is correct or not. Okay. So we know that all these you should know. Maybe based on these, they can ask you some problems to solve. Clear? So the total number of base pairs within each nucleosome is 200. Within each nucleosome. And if you know the total number of base pairs, it's easy to find out the number of nucleosomes present. Once again, we were discussing about the packaging of DNA in eukaryotic cell. So here also positively charged proteins will be fixing or will be keeping the negatively charged DNA molecules intact. And histones are those positively charged proteins, and they are positively charged because they are rich in amino acid residues like lysine and arginine. And histones are organized. We already learned these are positively charged proteins which will keep the DNA molecule in position. And how are these protein molecules arranged? 8 molecules will together form a structure known as histone octamer. And twining around this histone octamer, you can find the DNA strand. And each portion or each nucleosome consists of 200 base pairs. Then what is a nucleosome? Negatively charged DNA which is wrapped around a positively charged histone octamer. So the DNA The DNA strand which is wrapped around a single histone octamer, you call it as a single nucleosome. And each nucleosome will have 200 base pairs. So by knowing the total number of base pairs, we can calculate the number of nucleosomes present in that cell using the value 200 base pairs present in each nucleosome. If we know the total number of base pairs, you can find out the number of nucleosomes too. You want me to explain, children, again, or is it okay? Anthony, Anna. Okay. Any doubts? Do you have any doubts?
No.
Okay. You are finding it difficult to unmute it in between, then you keep it unmuted always. But if there are too much disturbances around, then you can make it mute or you can mute it. Okay. Children, once we proceed or once we have reached newer and newer topics, if you say the previous topics were not clear, then it will be difficult. That's why I'm asking you in between, are these points clear? If any clarity you need or if you want me to explain again, feel free to say. Okay, because you should know the basics. Because now we are dealing with all the basics of this, and then we'll be proceeding to the applications of all these different processes involved. So you should be thorough, and if you don't understand this chapter, it's not only means two more chapters are there related. So if you don't understand this chapter, those chapters also you will find it difficult to understand, like biotechnology applications, principles and processes. 2 chapters are there. So that is also somewhat related to this particular topic. So this you should know well. So far what I have completed, is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm proceeding. So here, children, again you can see that octamer. See, histone octamer or nucleosome, you can say histone octamer along with the negatively charged DNA strand. So several such octamers you can find over here. Nucleosomes you can find. So nucleosome consists of what? The histone octamer plus the DNA strand which is twined around it. So several such nucleosomes you can see, and what comprises a nucleosome? It consists of histone octamer with a negatively charged DNA wrapped around it. Okay, so this is the histone octamer, what is given in blue color, and the brown color indicates the DNA molecule, and together they form nucleosome. And in each nucleosome, 200 base pairs. So that strand of DNA, that portion of DNA which is wrapped around a single nucleosome will contain 200 base pairs. Nucleosomes constitute the repeating units to form chromatin. Have you heard about chromatin, children? Have you heard about chromatin? What is the difference between chromatin and chromosome? Any difference? When can you find chromatin in a cell? Or else when do you find it as chromosomes? All these you have learned from class 8. Is it because?
When the cell is dividing.
Yes, Nandana?
When the cell is dividing.
The cell is about to divide, what will happen? The chromatin material will become short and thick. They get condensed and they form structures known as chromosomes. Otherwise, they will be seen as an entangled thread-like structure, just like a mass of thread, an entangled mass of thread. That is how it looks like when it is not dividing. But when the cell is about to divide, some changes are undergone. They'll become short and thick and they transform into chromosomes. Nucleosomes constitute the repeating units to form chromatin. Very clear from the figure. So these are the different units. These are the different units and they will form chromatin, and chromatin is the thread-like structures. Upon staining, they absorb the color, the colored bodies present in the nucleus. And later at the time of cell division, they form chromosomes. And the nucleosomes in a chromatin or nucleosomes present in chromatin, it looks like or it look like beads on a string. As we have arranged beads on a string. You know what are beads and string? So as we have arranged several beads on a string. So here itself you can see. See, it looks like beads on a string. As if we have arranged several beads on a string. So nucleosomes in chromatin appear like beads on a string. Michael, what is appearing like beads on a string?
Chromatin.
Chromatin alone will have that appearance. What form the beads? It is a string part. What about the beads? Which structure form bead?
Nucleosomes.
Nucleosome. Nucleosomes are the bead-like structure and the string, that is chromatin or the DNA. Chromatin is packaged. They form chromatin fibers and they will get further coiled and condensed and they form chromosomes at the metaphase stage. Hope you are remembering about metaphase and all. Metaphase stage, anaphase, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. You have learned in class 11. So chromatin material will be transformed or they will form, they will be packed. This chromatin is packed to form chromatin fibers which look like an entangled mass of thread-like structures. They will further condense and coil at the time of cell division to form chromosomes. The packaging of chromatin at higher levels. Now we already said how they are arranged, but when this packing is taking place at a higher level, they might need additional proteins. Apart from histones, certain other proteins are also involved in the packaging process. So those proteins you call as NHC proteins or non-histone chromosomal proteins, which are not histones. Already we have one set of proteins which you call as histones. So some proteins which are not histones, non-histone chromosomal proteins. And when are they required? When the packaging is done at a higher level, then you might need these special proteins known as NHC or non-chromosomal proteins. Now chromatin, now you know what is meant by chromatin. This chromatin can be differentiated into two types, euchromatin and heterochromatin. And in this figure, second figure, you can see both heterochromatin and euchromatin. And euchromatin, there the chromatin material is loosely packed and they are transcriptionally active. I'll tell you what is meant by transcription. They are transcriptionally active and they will take less stain. Already I told you these are colored bodies. They absorb stain and they appear as colored bodies, but they take less stain. As you can see in the picture, some parts are darker in color, some parts are lighter. These parts are light. These parts are dark. This part is also dark. Okay. Both light and dark parts you can find. So euchromatin loosely packed. That is why you can see it's not very thick and the staining is also very light. It stains light, loosely packed and transcriptionally active. Heterochromatin, it's densely packed, inactive, stains dark. Just the opposite of what all points we said in the case of euchromatin. So chromatin, you can differentiate into two parts, euchromatin and heterochromatin. Euchromatin, loosely packed, lightly stained and transcriptionally very active. Whereas heterochromatin, densely packed, darkly stained, inactive region. Transcription, you are going to learn in detail. It's a process where the genetic information present on DNA is copied to RNA. So don't worry about it now. You will learn the process in detail. Okay. So it's very active region. with respect to transcription. Transcription is a process where the genetic information stored in DNA is copied to RNA. Okay. So I think this much is enough for today. Next is about the search for genetic material, which you will learn in next class. Okay. So we can have a quick recap of all the points that we learned. I'll be going a bit fast. 9:20 is the time, no children? Is it 9:20?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we started with this, the distance between two consecutive base pairs is 0.34 nanometer, and I told you the formula to calculate the length of the DNA double helix, total number of base pairs into distance between two consecutive base pairs. So the distance between two consecutive base pairs, it will not change. So that value we already know, and if you know, or if you get the length of the DNA double helix, you can calculate the total number of base pairs, and if you know the total number of base pairs, you can calculate the length of the DNA. Then we learned about the packaging of DNA next. In prokaryotes, the DNA is not scattered throughout the cell. Instead, they are forming loops. And these loops are held in position with the help of proteins. And the DNA, which is negatively charged, and the positively charged proteins will together form a structure known as nucleoid. And here, a nuclear membrane is absent. Apart from the chromosomal DNA, some circular DNA also can be found, which you call as plasmid. Applications of plasmid we will be learning later. Then we learned in eukaryotes how they are arranged. In eukaryotes, some specialized positively charged proteins are there, which you call as histones. And these histones will form a unit of 8. 8 molecules will together form a unit, and you call it as histone octamer. And wrapped around this positively charged structure, you can find negatively charged DNA. And the DNA, which is wrapped around this histone octamer, forms a unit known as nucleosome. Within each nucleosome, 200 base pairs are present. So if you know the total number of base pairs, we can calculate the number of nucleosomes present within that DNA strand. Then we learned that nucleosomes, they form repeating units known as chromatin. Chromatin is a entangled mass of thread-like structure which gets stained or which are colored. And nucleosomes arranged, or nucleosomes and this chromatin together give the appearance of beads on a string, as you can see in the figure. Chromatin material or chromatin will get packed and they form fibers known as chromatin fibers, and they get condensed. They become short, thick and condensed to form chromosomes at the time of cell division. And the stage is also mentioned, especially during the metaphase stage, it becomes more prominent. The packaging of chromatin, when it is done at a higher level, we need additional proteins. Apart from histones, we need NHC or non-histone proteins too. Then we learned about the differences between euchromatin and heterochromatin. See, in the first case, you can see the packaging is more clear. Euchromatin loosely packed. See the first figure, loosely packed with space in between. Nucleosomes are not tightly held together. You can see so much of gap in between. So they are loosely packed. In the second figure, you can make out that they are lightly stained, but transcriptionally very active. Whereas the heterochromatin, see the figures, very closely packed. They are closely packed, then they are darkly stained, but they are less active. Okay, so that is all we learned today. Now it's your turn. Quickly recap the points. So we can start with Vidur. Vidur, tell me how to calculate the length of DNA. Give me the formula.
Number of base pairs into length of the two consecutive base pairs.
Okay. What is the length of the two consecutive base pairs, Vidur?
0.34 nanometer.
Okay, now read next point.
In prokaryotes, the DNA is not scattered throughout the cell, and the positively charged DNA and the negatively charged proteins form nucleoid.
Nucleoid. Okay. What about the packaging in eukaryotic cells, Punya? What about the packaging in eukaryotic cells?
In eukaryotes, there are specialized proteins called
Hmm.
histone proteins which carry out the packaging.
Hmm.
It has a octamer.
8 molecules will together form octamer, then
Proteins are positively charged and DNA is negatively charged, and they together form the
nucleosome. Okay, then Donna, what is next?
The nucleosomes constitute the repeating unit to form chromatin,
Hmm.
and these are thread-like structures,
Hmm.
colored bodies present in the nucleus,
Hmm.
and the nucleosomes in the chromatin.
You're reading the whole thing? Huh? You can refer in between, but try to say.
The nucleosomes on the chromatids, they are known as beads on.
On a string. Bead looks beads on a string. What next, Sania? What next?
Chromatin is packed. Chromatin fiber condenses and form chromosomes.
Chromatin will form. They are densely packed. They get packed and they form what? Chromatin material. Chromatin fibers. Okay, the chromatin or the chromatin material will form chromatin fibers. And what happens to this chromatin fibers?
They get further coiled and condensed.
Form
Chromosomes.
stage. It is more prominent.
Metaphase.
Metaphase stage. Okay, Rijas. How do you differentiate heterochromatin and euchromatin? Tell me the points about euchromatin.
Euchromatin are loosely packed, transcriptionally active, and
One more point.
light color, light stain.
Lightly stained. Okay, repeat the points without referring. No, you're not supposed to refer anywhere.
Euchromatin are loosely packed, transcriptionally active, and lightly stained.
Okay, next. What about heterochromatin, Anthony?
Heterochromatin is more densely packed, stains dark, and less active.
Okay, good. Okay, let me take the attendance. Thank you, children. See you next class.